Thank you. John has already mentioned the staff who has put this together, and I know that most of you undoubtedly know that that's not an easy task to put an event like this together. So let me add my thank you, Maddie, to you and your staff, and John, your entire department, doing marvelous things. And I am so proud to continue to be associated with not only this university, but the athletic department as well, under John Curry's leadership. So thank you so much. I'm a wise man. My lovely wife told me tonight not to tell too many stories. And I'm going to do my best to abide by that mandate from her. But let me tell you about the first day that I was here. There's a couple of facts in that about that first day that I think you might find interesting. Now, I was here for just about 10,000 days. Don't worry, we're not going to cover all 10,000 days, I assure you of that. My first day was October 31st, 1992, just about 30 years ago. What is October 31st? Halloween. Some people would say that was appropriate, that was my first day. We played Clemson in football that day. During the game, I got here on Saturday morning, and I came to the football stadium, and Becky Ward was my host. All of you remember Becky. And she said, "Ron, let me take you to your box. It's right up here." Well, my family wasn't here, so I sat in the box alone. I'm up there watching our football game all by myself. In the second quarter, this man appeared, and he started talking to me. And he talked the rest of the second quarter, all through halftime, and the entire third quarter, and then he departed. I had no idea what he was talking about. And so I followed him, and I had no idea who he was. But he talked and kind of talked in circles, and I'm trying to watch the football game, and he's barking in my ear over here, and I'm all confused, and am I supposed to be doing this? And is this the role of an athletic director at Wake Forest? And so he left abruptly, and I followed him out because I had to know who he was. And I asked one of the guys on the film crew, who was that man that was just in my box? They said, "Oh, that's Jesse Haddock." Those of you who know Jesse Haddock know exactly what I'm talking about and how I would not be able to understand every word that he said. Well, Jesse was our 3-time national championship golf coach, and he coached some of the greatest golfers Wake Forest has ever had, and some of the greatest golfers on the PGA Tour. That's the guy I could not understand. Well, we beat Clemson that day, 18-15, on a last-second catch in the corner of the end zone by whom, Barry? Yes, a great moment in Wake Forest history. It was Halloween, so I'm sitting in the box by myself, and the students rushed the field. And I thought, these people know how to party. And I look at the field, and there is someone down there, a headless horseman with a big pumpkin head on his head. And I thought, that's weird. 2 decades later, I found out that the headless horseman, pumpkin head bearer, was Barry Fairclough. His father, Bill, referred to him being a Deak. I think Barry was a social chairman of the Deaks at that time. And I think we have another person who was an officer in that fraternity here tonight, and that would be Barry's maybe best friend in college, John Curry. John, I don't know what you wore that day, but maybe you would like to reveal to us tonight what you were dressed as.
Just outed me to my boss.
Well, that team went on to go to the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl. And that week or that month going to the Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl is deserving of a book. The things that happened in that process, and Bill Faircloth remembers many of them, were unbelievable. But it was an introduction to Wake Forest that I will never forget. And by the way, we were behind Oregon in that Poulon Weed Eater Independence Bowl, I think by 21 points at halftime, if I'm not mistaken, and we ended up beating them 39-35. So it was a great day for the Deeks. Who was there? Barbara, of course you were there. Absolutely. Barbara, why didn't we sing the YMCA song tonight for you? I don't know if you know the tradition at women's basketball. At the end of the third quarter, Barbara leads the band in the YMCA song, and you should see the hundreds of little kids coming out of the stands to do the YMCA song on the floor at that time. It's all because of that young lady, Barbara Troutwine. You know, my first official speaking engagement at Wake Forest was a week later after that Halloween experience, and it was at the Hall of Fame. And I had the pleasure of introducing the 4 inductees that day. Harry Nicholas, remember him? Bill Ard went on to NFL fame, Marge Crisp and Dot Casey, 2 of the great leaders in women's athletics, not only at Wake Forest, but nationally as well. And since that time, I've had the opportunity to induct or present 27 different classes of Hall of Famers. It's one of the real thrills that I have had at Wake Forest. I had the opportunity to present over 100 inductees to the Wake Forest Hall of Fame. And I reviewed some of those names tonight in your program from 1992-93 on. And the names of those athletes are some of the best names, obviously, in Wake Forest history, but also in their professional careers as well. We are blessed at Wake Forest to have great athletes, and that tradition will continue. I will tell you, I had the opportunity also to serve on the selection committee for 27 years. It is one of the most difficult processes that you will ever experience. We have so many former athletes who are All-Americans, All-ACC, many of them multiple All-ACC choices, who are still not in the Hall of Fame. That's how strong of a group of nominees that we have to induct in the future. So, John and Pete, good luck with that. I will tell you that I am here tonight because I rode the shoulders of many, many people to get to this point. I think of our student athletes and what they achieved, not only competitively, but we always had one of the highest graduation rates in the country. Every year, over 95% of our student athletes volunteered in the community in one way or another. Many of them volunteered in a program called Santa's Helper. And the originator, the founder of Santa's Helper is here tonight, and that is Chip Reeves. So Chip, thank you. Those athletes, I love going to practices. I enjoy going to the games, but going to practices was special. To see them interact with their coaches, to see them work hard, to see them so determined. Dr. Hearn, one of our former president who hired me, said, you know, the athletes are different than anybody else because they already have a passion for something. And when young people at that age have a passion for something, they are going to be successful. And so often I have the opportunity to talk with our former athletes, and they are successful. They're successful not only in their chosen profession, but they are successful family men as well. So often when I talk with them, the first thing that they mention is their family. And nothing could be more important than those individuals being good fathers and good husbands. And many of the traits that they learned to be good fathers and good husbands were learned here at Wake Forest from the coaches and teachers that they had an opportunity to interact with. I had the opportunity to be associated with some great coaches, some unbelievable coaches. And the coaches who are successful at Wake Forest understand what this university is about. They understand what the strengths of the university are. They're not here to change the university. We're here to represent the university. And they did a superb job of that. If you understand, support the ideals and values and everything that is associated with Wake Forest, your chances of succeeding and excelling are enhanced. Coaches who don't support those ideals and values are going to have a difficult time. We have a bunch of coaches at Wake Forest and have had for many years people who really understand this university, and I was privileged to work with them. I was privileged to work with great administrators. John has already alluded to the fact that a number of them have gone on to become athletic directors at other institutions, which is wonderful. Others have chosen to stay with us, people like Barry Faircloth and Barbara Walker, who have been here for over 20 years. And I'm deeply appreciative of their loyalty to Wake Forest. Not that the people who went on to become athletic directors weren't loyal, they still are, and they're wonderful people, but having that long-term relationship with those administrators meant so very, very much to me. I had the opportunity to work with women in my office who made every day fun, regardless of the situation, regardless of what the calendar presented that day, regardless of the challenging meetings that might be on the calendar, they made my day fun. I look forward to every day coming to the office. Marie, Sheena, Donna, Amy, thank you for making my job a pleasure. The only disagreement that I really ever had with them, they would monitor my attire. And at one point, I think it was Amy who said, "Ron, why don't you just keep a few ties on the back of your door? Because so often when you come in, your tie does not match the sport coat, or your sport coat has a spot on it, or something is wrong. So why don't you just bring a couple of sport coats and some ties in here?" But that is the only time that we had a disagreement. So thank you, ladies, for all that you have done. You know, in this business, there aren't many who understand what you are going through, right, Michael? And you have to confide in people you trust, people who you know have your back. And one of those individuals, the individual for me, is here tonight, and that is Mike Hamrick. Mike and I go back to our days at Illinois State. And when I have decisions to make, things to think about, I usually find a staff member and say two or three words: "Let's take a walk." And we walk around campus and talk about the decision that needs to be made. Mike Hamrick and I have taken many, many walks together. Mike Hamrick and I have had many phone calls together. You know, he's a guy that is brutally honest with me, sometimes too honest. Someone that I depend upon for that honesty, and I appreciate the impact that he has had upon my career. Quite frankly, I would not have had the opportunity to pursue my dream in athletics if it weren't for my family. My wife is as not only supportive, but she participated and enjoyed what we did. It's one thing to be supportive and understanding that every weekend is spoken for, most evenings are spoken for, but she participated. She went to the events with me, never complaining. She went to the games with me, never complaining. And she took our 3 daughters, Angie, Nicole, and Melissa. I can't tell you how much that meant to have them enjoy. How many jobs are there where your family can participate and enjoy what you are doing? I was fortunate to have one of those jobs. And fortunately now, we have 10 grandkids, and they all live here, and they're right over there. And they all enjoy going to the games with me. It is a rarity that I don't call one of them or 10 of them and say, hey, how about going to a game today? And it is a rarity if they say, no, Papa, I can't. They do their very best to join me at those games, for which I am deeply, deeply appreciative. I never dreamed that I would be a Hall of Fame member. Never did I dream that. Every day when I came on this campus, I thank God for the opportunity that He gave me. This is a unique place and a unique opportunity. And God has blessed my life more than I can even begin to describe. I wanted to please Him. And I wanted to do the very best I could every day representing this outstanding university. You know, Lou Gehrig, in his famous speech in Yankee Stadium when he had ALS and could barely stand up, he said, "Don't feel sorry for me. I'm the luckiest man in the world." If you haven't seen that speech, watch it. I'm here to tell you, I can give Lou Gehrig a run for his money because I'm the luckiest man in the world to be blessed with my family, to be blessed to represent this university. Thank you. Go Deacs!